What would you say brought you there, to this place where you're saying now, I am actually grateful for the journey?
Yeah.
When you think about the pain and everything that you had to go through,
Mm-hmm.
come to the realization, was there something that shifted in you that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to look at it today with different eyes?
So when that psychologist gave me that book and I read it and I saw that the way I reacted was the result of what happened to me. Not that I am inherently bad, as I always thought, and that things happen to me and they have consequences. That was the first shift for me. So in that, the fact that I have problems trusting other people, I don't feel I belong. I have anxiety. So I started seeing how this could lead to this, because up until then, the fact that I went through abandonment by both my parents, I was taking care of, I don't know, cooking when I was 10 and selling in the bar when I was 12. All of that for me, yeah, it's difficult, but yeah, life is difficult,
Yeah.
You should get over it, kind of, And then so I saw that all those stuff that was weighing me down, um, it was it came from my childhood trauma. And like just recognizing it and reading more about it and meditating, also a lot of meditation.
Mhm.
There's this woman called Tara Brach. She has this meditation and kind of talk and then meditation. So like then I started doing breath work, and I started observing how I react, how I feel, noticing my triggers, what
Mhm.
triggers me, what makes me go into an emotional flashback,
Yeah.
and things like that. So gaining more and more self-awareness. It starts with that
Mhm.
self-awareness. And I've tried different sorts of therapy when I had the means or not. Even if sometimes it was just like 2 sessions, for example, the 2 times I went to hypnotherapy, um, one of my uncles who used to beat me up a lot. Um, in that, I saw him as a human being who had his shortcomings, Until then, he was just set as this big, scary person for me. And then in that session, I saw him as someone who was young, who just lost his wife. So he was also in an emotional state, and maybe he was not equipped to take care of a child,
Yeah.
like seeing things like that as an adult and taking yourself out of that victim, small child role. Yeah, all these things help shift things for me. I'm
I
still
think that's a
working on,
really important point you raised there. And I came through a similar realization not so long ago,
yeah,
uh, when I realized that my parents were just human beings,
yeah,
like you and
yeah,
I. And they also
yeah,
had their own limitations,
yeah,
and they did what they could at the time.
yeah,
And that there were a lot of things that were missing for me.
yeah,
And just to
yeah,
be able to understand that and even express it. So it wasn't easy, but I was able to have a conversation with my father and tell him, look, this is what I would have needed when I was a child. And
yeah.
I
That's amazing.
didn't receive that.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really amazing you did
yeah,
that, and it's
yeah,
important. It's
yeah,
important because you take back your role as the child, and not the parent. Because I think for you too, we talk about this, but parentification,
yeah.
taking on an adult role way too early, right? I had that, and even when I was reunited with my mom when I came to Switzerland at 13, I still had that role. Like I would be feeling really bad, but I wouldn't want to let my mom know because I didn't want it to hurt her.
Yeah.
It's only last year when she came to live with us that I told her everything I went through, how I felt helpless as a child because there was no one to talk to.
Hmm.
And even though it hurt her, I told her, you have to listen to this because it's important for me. I have to take back my role as a child. So
Yeah,
it's important you did that. You did great.
yeah, yeah.
So did you experience any parentification growing up?
I do feel that I had to take a lot of responsibilities and that I did try to please my mother in ways that were not my responsibility as a 5 or 10-year-old child.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a parentification. And this, when it happens like this, we don't honor our needs. We don't follow our developmental stages because we are already in service of the family, right? And so we become adults. We don't really know what we want in life
Right.
because
Yeah.
we didn't have time to experience, do crazy things. We were so serious doing this, doing that, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, you
and
totally forget yourself.
yeah, yeah,
You forget who you are, you forget what you like, you forget what you want.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this is what took so much time for me to find, you know.
yeah,
I had to
yeah.
do a lot of work to really learn to reconnect with myself
Mm-hmm.
and my emotions and what I wanted and what made me happy, basically, and not somebody else.
My life was worse than my mother's.
Yes.
And it was because my mother's trauma was never processed. She never had the tools to process her trauma.
Mm.
And so it impacted us even worse than the life she had, you
Mm.
know.
How
Yeah.
was it for you to realize what your life had been, to become aware of the trauma? Because for me, uh, as a young adult, I feel that I woke up.
Yeah.
If I think about my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had a very happy childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And today I have to realize that most of the time, probably yes, I was in a
Mm-hmm.
very safe country and I had both of my parents present. But in terms of the emotional impact and consequences that I went through,
Yeah.
it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not so easy for me to realize that it wasn't as perfect as people try to paint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because sometimes family members are in denial
Yeah.
because it's painful, right? To come and say, okay, it could have been better, you know. But it shouldn't make us deny our truth because that's our truth. That's how we lived it in our body. Um, hmm. For me, I always knew that my childhood was not great. I mean, I was maltreated, so um, when my mom was not there, she always sent money, she sent gifts, she sent clothes. And then all the kids were like, oh, I want to have this that you have. Oh, you have a camera. And all I wanted was like to give them everything I had and go spend one day in their home and be pampered by their parents and be fed, and not be forced to cook, sell in a bar and things like that. So I was already conscious of that. But as soon as I came, it's also the stories they tell you. When I came to Europe, everybody was like, oh my God, you're so great. You're so lucky your mom brought you to Europe. You have a better life. So from that, I felt guilt. So I was angry. I was super angry at my mom for leaving us for all those years. But I felt I had to hide it,
Yeah.
not to hurt her, and because I would be the ungrateful child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was really, really painful. So my anger would come up at really random moments. Like if there was if we were like having dinner with other people and she would when I ate, apparently I forgot to drink water. She would bring a glass of water and give it to me to drink. I would be so angry, you know. I would try to hold it, and then afterwards I tell her, "You never do that. Don't do that to me." But it was because she's showing me nurture in front of other people, and I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
But it was not just that glass of water because in itself it's nice. It's all the emotional baggage from the past.
Yeah.
Or when she would tell me, "I'm proud of you," when I passed her exam, so I would tell her, "You can never say that. You don't know why I'm doing it." And she was like, "Whoa!" I just said. But it was not the fact. It was all the hurt that I couldn't express. So
Mm-hmm.
like with little things, I would get upset, like overly upset, but it was not for that thing. It was for all the stuff I could never say because I was so scared to be, because they say you have to respect elders in my culture. You have to,
Yeah.
so all of that, and all the family telling you, oh, you're so lucky.